Greetings to everyone. In this lesson, we are going to learn about Virginia Woolf and his works. Virginia works were really famous, and he was a modernist writer. We are going to learn about him, about his biography. His full name is Adeline Virginia Stephen. He was born in January 25, 1882, London, England, and died in March 28, 1941, near Rodwell, Sussex. He was an English writer. His novel was through the non-linear approaches to narrative extracted a major influence on the genre. To the Lighthouse, Woolf also wrote pioneering essay on artistic theory, literary history, women's writing, and the politics of power. Her father, Leslie Stephen, was an eminent literary figure and the first editor of the Dictionary of National Biography. Her mother, Julia Jackson, possessed great beauty and a reputation for sanely self-sacrifice. She also had prominent social and artistic connections, which included Julia Margaret Cameron, her aunt and one of the greatest portrait photographers of the 19th century. Julia Jackson Duckworth and Leslie Stephen married in 1878, and the four children followed: Vanessa, Dobie, Virginia, and Adrian. While these four children banded together against their older half siblings, loyalty shifted among them. Virginia was jealous of Adrian for being their mother's favorite. At the age 9, she was the genius behind the family of newspaper, Hyde Park Gate News, that often teased Vanessa and Adrian. Vanessa mothered the others, especially Virginia, but the dynamic between need and aloofness sometimes expressed itself as a rivalry between Virginia's art of writing and Vanessa's of painting. The Stephen family made summer migration from the London town house near Kensington Gardens to the rather disheveled talent house on the rugged Carnival coast. That annual relocation structured Virginia childhood world in terms of opposites, city and country, winter and summer, repression and freedom, fragmentation and oldness are neatly divided, predictable world ended when her mother died in 1895 at the age of 49. Virginia at 13 ceased writing amusing accounts of family news. Almost a year passed before she wrote a cheerful letter to her brother Bobby. She was just emerging from depression when in 1897 her half sister Stella Duckworth died at the age of 28. And even Virginia noted in her diary as impossible to write off. After her father's death, Virginia had a nervous breakdown. Virginia was recovering. Vanisha surprised the Stephen children moved to the Bohemian Bloomsbury section of London. There, the sibling lived independent of their Duckworth half brothers, free to pursue studies. Darby died of typhoid fever. He was 26. Virginia grieved but did not slip into depression. She overcame the loss of Darby and the loss of Anisha, who became engaged to Bill just after Darby's death through writing. Manisha's marriage helped transition conversation at the avant-garde gatherings of what came to be known as the Bloomsbury Group into irrelevant. Even while privately she was writing her poignant reminiscence about her childhood and her lost mother, it was published in 1908. Viewing Italian art that summer, she committed herself to creating a language, some kind of owl made of shivering fragment, to capturing the flight of the mind. To learn about Virginia Woolf attempt to capture life fleeting movement through structures, patterning, and imagery of writing, perhaps most influentially as used of interior monologue to convey multiple layers of thought, feelings, and perception. Virginia Stephen determined in 1908 to reform the novel by creating the holistic form embarrassing aspect of life that were fugitive from the Victorian novel. Virginia was at once outraged over the attention that painting garnered, Garner and intrigued by the possibility of borrowing from the likes of artists Paul Cézanne and Pablo Picasso. Marisha began an affair with Fry, and Fry became lifelong debate with Virginia about the visual and verbal art. In summer of 1911, Leonard Woolf returned from the East after his resign from colonial service. Leonard and Virginia married in August 1912. She continued to work on her first novel. He wrote the anti-colonist novel *The Village in the Jungle* and *The Vice Virgin*. She based many of her novels' characters on real-life prototypes. Leslie Stephen, her half-brother George Duckworth, Sullivan, Venetia Bell, and herself. Rachel Winter, the novel's central character, is the sheltered young woman who, on the excursion to South Africa, is introduced to freedom and sexuality. After an excursion of the Amazon, Rachel contracts a terrible illness that plunged her into delirium and then death. As possible cause of his disaster, Wolf character suggests everything from poorly washed vegetable to jungle disease to a malevolent illness, but the book endorses no explanation. Wolf manic depressive worry provoked a suicide attempt in September 1913. Publication of the Voyage Out was delayed until early 1915. She sank into the distant state in which she was often delirious. Later that year, she overcame the vile imagination that had threatened her sanity. She kept the demons of mania and depression mostly at bay for the rest of her life. In 1917, the Wolf bought a printing press and founded the Harvard Press, named for Agatha House, their home in London suburb. The Wolf themselves, she has the compositor when he worked the press, published their own two stories in the summer of 1917. It consists of Leonard, three Jews, and Virginia's The Mark on the Wall, the latter about contemplation itself. Since 1910, Virginia had kept a country house in Sussex, and in 1916, Manisha settled into a Sussex farmhouse called Charleston. She ended her affair with Fry to take up with the painter Tangan Grant, who moved to Charleston with Venetia and her children. Julian and Quantium Bell, their daughter Angelica, for would be born to Vanessa and Graham at the age of 1918. Charleston soon off became extravagantly decorated, orthodoxly repeated for artists and writers, especially Clive Bell, who continued on friendly terms with Vanisha and Fry, Vanisha's lifelong devotee, proving that she could master the traditional form of the novel before breaking it. She plotted her next novel in the two romantic triangles, with its protagonist Catherine in both Night and Day answers Leonard's The Vice Virgins, in which he had his Leonard like protagonist lose the Virginia like beloved and end up in conventional marriage. Wolf was writing nearly a review a week for the Times Literary Supplement in 1918. In 1999, they bought a cottage in Rodman village called the Monk's House, which look out the Sussex towns and the meadows where the river house owned down in the English Channel, Virginia, could walk or bicycle by to visit Vanessa, her children, and a changing cast of guests at the Bohemian. Charleston, Charleston and a retreat to Mark's house to write. She envisioned a new book that would apply the theories of modern novels and the achievement of as short stories to the novel form. In 1921, Woolf mimically patterned short fiction were gathered in Mondays or Tuesday. Though she takes Jacob from childhood to his early death in war, she leaves her flat conflict even character. The emptiness of Jacob's room and the irrelevance of his belonging convey in their minimalism the profound emptiness of loss. The Common Reader, collection of essays by Virginia Woolf published in two series, the first in 1925 and the second in 1932. Literary Supplement, weekly literary journal founded in 1902 and as a supplement to the Sunday Times of London. Long famous for its coverage of all aspects of literature and widely considered to the finest literary view to the English language. TLS set the tone and stylish for excellence in field of literary criticism. The journal began to increase its international coverage and its attention to the art. He was a Fabian socialist and she is the political and literary partner, and the journal reflected their views, becoming an independent socialist form for serious intellectual discussion, political commentary, and criticism. The magazine is famous for its aggressive and often satirical analysis of British and world political scenes. Its contributors are drawn from young, the most dictionary writer Britain. As a result, its political commentary, cultural articles, and the critical reviews of the art and letters to the editor are known for their intelligence and wit. Geoffrey Chaucer, Michael de Montaigne. The sense of immense possibilities stemming from discoveries of new world travelers, from the rediscovery of classical antiquity, and from the openings of scholarly horizon through the works of the Illuminates, was shattered in France, and when the advent of Calvinistic Reformation was followed closely by religious persecution and by the wars of religion. The essay of Michael D. Montaigne. Montaigne saw his age as one of the dissimulation, corruption, violence, and hypocrisy, and it said therefore not surprising that the point of the departures of essay is situated in negativity, as he questions to question the possibility of all knowing and sees the human being as a creature of weaknesses and failures, of inconsistency and uncertainty, of capacity and fragmentation. The title indicates as intellectual edit of questioning and of continuous assessment. Jane Augustine, born in December 16, 1775, and their writing, his writing were Pride and Prejudice, Mansfield for Emma, Northanger Abbey. Finally, as a summary, Wool's first and most popular volume of essay are remarkable. This collection has more than 25 selections, including such important statements as modern fiction and the modern essay. Thank you.